So having said all that, I'm going to bring up our first speaker. And our first speaker is Chris Sargent. He's the Ecosystems Program Manager with OpenText. And Chris is going to enlighten us. And he's going to be talking about extending your enterprise content management and content services strategy with Office 365. And so, Chris, I know you've got a lot of great things to share with us. And at this point, I'm going to turn the reins over to you. So, Chris, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on your location. I'm Chris Sargent with OpenText, and I'm coming to you today from our fantastic Executive Briefing Center here in downtown Toronto. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with OpenText, allow me to briefly introduce our company. We are the largest software company in Canada with 25 years of experience in the industry, and not only are we the leader in the enterprise information management space, but also we're the leader in key areas of the information flow, like digital asset management, business networks, and enterprise content management, which we're speaking about today. Now, you might be surprised to know that since 2005, OpenText has been a Microsoft partner and has specifically supported Microsoft SharePoint as an integrated component of our ECM capabilities. And this partnership has offered our customers a comprehensive ECM strategy, as well as the benefit of a single integrated business productivity platform. Our support has continued and extended into the Office 365 suite of applications available today, where we take advantage of capabilities like groups, hybrid search, Office Online, and others. And I probably don't have to name them all because these are the tools that almost everyone knows and uses for content creation, collaboration, sharing, mobility, etc. And these are highlighted on the right side of the graphic under productivity. Now, if I stop here, that would only be telling half the story, because on the left side of the graphic are the systems that actually run the business, the ERP, the CRM, the supply chain management, and the related business applications that most often initiate some business process, whereby we then use Office 365 to respond to it and to collaborate around it, continuing that process. So what Extended ECM from OpenText does is it connects the productivity solutions, or the digital workplace, to the digital business, or the back-end business systems on the left. So compared to a standalone Office 365 environment, this is immensely more valuable, and it has several key benefits. So let's take a look at how our customer, Hydro Tasmania, has leveraged Extended ECM within their business to achieve these benefits specific to their needs and to their investment in Microsoft, and enabling them to extend their ECM strategy with Office 365. So Hydro Tasmania is Australia's leading clean energy business, and they are the largest generator of renewable energy in the country. They have close to 1,200 employees, and they manage their operations across dozens of what I would call dams, but they correctly call hydroelectric power stations. They also have a few gas-powered plants and wind farms. And as the leading clean energy business in Australia, it's probably no surprise to you that Hydro places a big commitment on both safety and sustainability, and that's really at the core of what they do. And because they're in the environmental infrastructure space, they're subject to compliance with local, regional, national, you name it, regulatory requirements. So Hydro Tasmania had the benefit of being guided through their ECM exploration process by a gentleman named Rick Quarmby, who is the Principal Knowledge Management Advisor for Hydro's CIO. So obviously, sometimes it can be beneficial to have a dedicated advisor when undertaking a project like this. And Rick is the one who really guided our knowledge of the transformation at Hydro for this case study, and whose quotes appear in this presentation. So let me give you some background on Hydro and set the stage, if you will, to help you understand where they were before implementing OpenText. At the time, they had only SharePoint, and they didn't even have an official ERP system until putting in SAP, which was followed a bit later by OpenText. They did have a large investment in SharePoint, and they knew that they wanted to maximize it, but they didn't know how. As Rick likes to say, Hydro had a scattered source of truth problem. They simply couldn't find what they needed when they needed it, and a good example is that when an employee went to fill out a template for a critical safety checklist, the search could turn up as many as seven different versions. That's a lot. Additionally, as both a government entity and a business enterprise, Hydro has to comply with not only corporate obligations, but governmental regulations as well. And Rick said that the effort associated with addressing a discovery or an audit request was, quote, very high and at times downright embarrassing, end quote. So that's not a good situation. So the content inefficiencies posed really hazardous and costly problems for Hydro, and you can imagine that if an employee needed to respond to an emergency and needed immediate answers, they wouldn't be able to get them. So ultimately, Rick blamed most of these problems on the fact that at Hydro, unstructured and structured information was not connected to the back-end business objects. So here they had this large investment in their productivity tool of choice, Microsoft, yet with multiple document versions, no single source of truth, no connectivity to the business process, the employees felt like they didn't have available to them accurate, reliable versions of the materials they needed, especially when working remotely and relying on wireless devices. So unfortunately for them, all of that literally meant that they weren't able to derive the benefits of having Office 365. So what they did is Hydro began by swapping out their legacy business systems for the combination of SAP and OpenText. And I'm not sure of the specific SAP modules they're running today, but on the OpenText side, everything they needed was found in our Extended ECM solution set, which includes content server, application governance and archiving, and the SharePoint and SAP enablers, which Rick refers to as bridges. Then they began crafting an ECM strategy that placed OpenText at the center of the business, backed by SAP and front-ended with Microsoft. The real key to success here, though, is the automatic creation of the containers, or the Extended ECM business workspaces that you see near the center of the diagram. These are tied to the business processes in ERP, CRM, supply chain, and also linked to the Office 365 groups. And this is what allows the seamless and automatic transfer of context and metadata to the content and collaboration. So we are literally extending ECM by making Office 365 a much more valuable player in the business process cycle. Without this connection, content becomes just another file, and Office 365 just another data silo. So what was the outcome? With content now connected to process, Hydro employees working in SAP and Microsoft can now find the correct documents quickly, which affects safety, compliance, discovery, audit, almost every aspect of the business. Remote workers can now access data wirelessly from their Office 365 connected devices as well. And Hydro has experienced a huge productivity boost and cost savings as a result. So this is important because Rick told us, quote, we need to do the same job better with less if we're going to survive. So the solution footprint at Hydro, including Office 365, enables them to meet that goal and to eliminate the swivel chair environment that so many employees found frustrating, switching from app to app in order to do their jobs. So for the time savings, Rick conservatively estimated that they saved close to 25,000 hours, and that's per year, across the enterprise, which he said has been redirected towards productive work instead of wasted time searching for and vetting files. So basically, Hydro Tasmania, at the end of the day, is now able to maximize their Microsoft investment, leveraging more of the tool set since it's accessing a solid foundation. And the quote that I love here is that Rick told us, I know where to go, the information is consistent, and I can share and use it. So to sum up what Rick's overall idea or feelings are about the situation at Hydro now is if we look at the quote here, he says, look, if I'm in Content Server from OpenText, I can work in SAP. If I'm in SAP, I can work in Content Server. And the other bridge is to SharePoint. They have a big investment in SharePoint. So he says they've got the trilogy. SharePoint's the outer limits, Content Server is a source of truth, and SAP is the source of process. So for them, this was a win all the way around. And I appreciate Rick guiding us through that process and glad to share that win with you. So there's no doubt that the applications in Office 365 absolutely enhance productivity, but they are measurably more valuable when connected to the business process. And as you heard in our case study, Extended ECM provides that connectivity and the following benefits. So first, it allows for the association of accurate and relevant context and metadata from the business process with the content created in Office 365. This increases findability, and it's a key requirement for a comprehensive retention policy. Next, it increases productivity by connecting the Office 365 users to the business process via workspaces and groups, exposing those business objects to the users in a way that could not be previously easily accomplished. It also promotes the safeguarding of all the enterprise content, no matter where it lives, with a holistic approach to information governance. And finally, Extended ECM gives business application users, SAP users in this example, access to the content created within Office 365 directly from the SAP application, eliminating that swivel chair approach, moving from app to app to app. And if I take a step back to when I was working for Microsoft, managing their partnership with SAP, I can honestly tell you that every joint customer I spoke to wanted much tighter integration between their Microsoft solutions and their back-end business systems. That was the holy grail for them, but they didn't know how to achieve it. Extended ECM from OpenText delivers that integration, connecting the digital workplace to the digital business and enabling companies to extend their ECM strategy to Office 365. That's why I'm here, and I encourage you to check it out. Now, for those of you who would like to learn more about OpenText, whether it's our revenues, our customer base, our number of employees, or any of the collateral that we have out there online, I encourage you to visit our website, www.opentext.com. And as for me, if you'd like to reach me, you can do so at the email address there on the screen. You can also link to me on LinkedIn. And most importantly, I want to let you know that if you are going to the live AIM conference in San Antonio in the middle of April, we will have a booth there. So please do stop by and say hello. And with that, I would like to throw it back to Bob and Teresa for any questions we might have.
Hey, thank you, Chris. And that was some great stuff that you shared with us, some great information. And thanks for that plug for San Antonio. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We do have a couple questions, one of which is, what are the drawbacks for customers who don't bridge the gap between the digital workplace and the digital business?
Okay. If you think about Office 365 as a standalone tool set, it's very easy to see how it can become an island of content searching for meaning. So Office 365 is very rarely the beginning of a business process. Most often it's used in response to a business process or as a continuation of a process. So capturing the context and metadata residing in the business systems and applying it to that content created in Office 365 is very important. Without doing that, it's difficult to imagine how an organization can achieve a fully comprehensive records management, governance, or retention policy. And as most AIM members know, any reduction or gap in compliance could have large legal or financial consequences for most organizations. And the second thing customers lose by not connecting Office 365 to their core business systems is productivity. And I know it's an often used soft cost, but it can have real value when looked at over the longer term. And you saw in our case study that Rick calculated a productivity gain of over 25,000 hours per year. And that's his conservative estimate. On top of that, no employee wants to go to work every day and face the all-day swivel chair routine, bouncing around from app to app to complete their tasks. So integrating Office 365 with the core business systems just makes really good business sense.
And so, having said that, what do you see as some of the challenges in relation to ECM and Office 365?
Well, I think the first challenge, of which probably everyone here is aware, is just the massive quantity of content that can be created so quickly by Office 365 users. The sheer number of SharePoint sites and teams and documents can quickly get out of hand. And along those same lines, Microsoft wants to enable users to have more control over all of this content that they create. But how does an organization keep the records management and retention rules in the hands of the record managers rather than allowing end users or SharePoint administrators to dictate that strategy? And another challenge has been introduced, ironically, by the rapid move to support cloud as an infrastructure. So our customers tell us that they need an information governance strategy across the enterprise, yet that becomes really difficult when you add a mix of on-prem and online SharePoint sites, not to mention multiple ERP and CRM and other back-end business systems. So not every customer can move to the cloud immediately for differing reasons, and these things need to be taken into consideration when an organization is examining its overall ECM strategy.
Okay, and then finally, we have a question about OpenText. And does OpenText rely on third-party products for interoperability with Office 365?
You know, we do not rely on third-party products to try and cobble together a solution that ultimately connects the most important part of our customers' business, their core enterprise systems, to arguably the second most important part of their business, their productivity and collaboration systems. We've developed our native integration solutions internally and in close partnership with Microsoft, SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, etc. So we believe that third-party products in this type of scenario are risky, they add unnecessary complexity and support challenges, and frankly, we don't want our customers to worry about whether or not their SAP upgrade or their SharePoint migration is going to break non-native customizations that have been made to those systems. So we avoid them entirely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we really do appreciate you being here and supporting this event.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. And now